Hey guys, Jeff here, and today I am installing the best bathroom fan I could find available at the Home Depot. This thing is whisper quiet, it has a humidistat control and a motion sensor, which makes it the ultimate bathroom fan for managing smell and moisture. So what I've picked up is the Panasonic Whisper series. Panasonic has been the leader in fan technology for a lot of years, and I'm a big fan. I've been using them for decades. When I'm looking at a fan, here's my deciding points. I want to have the quietest thing I can find, with the greatest amount of airflow. And I'm looking for technology that manages issues even if you forget to push the button on the switch, right? So whenever you're looking at a fan, it's gonna make claims. Here's the claims. It can be 80 CFM or 110. And that's cubic feet per minute of exhaust. How much air you're moving is a direct relationship to how noisy the fan is gonna be. So just because it says that this thing functions down here at 0.3 zones, or 0.5 zones, that's in relationship to the size of the duct. So if you can't get a 6-inch duct line and you gotta go to 4, you're gonna get 0.5 zones. Just realize that. And if you can't run a straight line, you can't get 0.5 zones. And if you use a corrugated pipe instead of a straight pipe, you're gonna increase turbulence, which increases noise. So all these factors factor into it, okay? So the best installation is a straight pipe. It's the largest pipe, all right? And it's the shortest run. So the first thing we wanna do is talk about where to put it. And the bigger the room and the less ductwork you have, the more options you have. But the best option is always right above the toilet. Most bathrooms, the toilet's next to the shower. Try to avoid putting a fan in the actual shower, okay? It's not necessary and it won't work as well with all of your smells. Because usually showers have got glass and there's just a little bit of airspace. Okay, but for vapor moisture, it always travels to the top of the ceiling because it's warm air. Fan outside the bathroom, outside the shower is always best. Try to put it over your toilet area, okay? It's out of the line of sight and it won't be that noticeable in the middle of the room. Now, here's my wall. What a wonderful wall to work with. I have a window here, which means I've got a double header, okay, to transfer load to this side, so I can't go through here. I can't go through here, and I can't go through here. So that means the only place I can go is right here or over here. Now I don't want to stick my fan right up against the corner of the wall. That'll look like garbage. Besides, we've got a plumbing stub out here. We want to maintain that location for plumbing in the future. So I'm looking at going right here. But for whatever reason, someone at some point came along and cut this joist, put in some blocking, and have restricted my access for anything to go up in the ceiling. So the first thing I'm going to do is not what most of you are going to have to do. 99 times out of 100, you're not going to have to deal with a situation like this, but I got to rip this out, open this up, put in another joist that goes all the way from my center wall to my outside sill. We're going to do that right now. Whenever you're installing a mechanical system, you don't want to compromise your thermal system or your vapor barrier system. So what I'm doing here now is I'm getting rid of the foam. That's where my new joist is going to line up. I have to get that to sit on the sill, which has a vapor barrier. Once I get this in here, we're going to actually be able to spray foam right from this all across the sill onto my rigid exterior. Spray foam is really easy to remove. The majority of this board is just going in so that I can go from my support wall to the outside wall. I'm going to nail it together the old joist, which comes a couple feet shy of making it to the rim. So for a couple of feet, I just needed to have enough structural load there, structural strength, sorry, so that I'm not going to be running into problems down the road. So careful when you're doing this kind of stuff, because trying to force a board into place with a sledgehammer can cause a lot more damage than not having one at all. Okay, we need a rhythm. We're gonna hit on thunder. Is this? Is that your plan? 1, 2, 3. So now I've got a place where I can put my fan. I can put it right here, which is outside the shower and above the toilet, just like we want. Whew. Okay, time for a quick little bit of unboxing. Now, what I did when I went shopping this morning for this fan is I also picked up a few extra materials that might need for your install, and I'll go through a couple of different installation options, because this fan video is great, not just for this fan with a 6-inch duct, but you can use all this information for your video or your fan as well. Most fans are a 4-inch duct, believe it or not. So if you downsize on the quality of the fan, you can get more economy. Yeah. All right, there we go. That's 5, we're done, okay. Right out of the gate, guys, this particular product comes for a no attic access installation. There's a lot of these products on the market now where you don't have to crawl in the attic and dig around and open up a vapor well and get back at it. So in a basement like this, it's even amazing. If you have an old house, you got an old fan, you can actually use this template here. They've got a system for cutting the new hole where the old fan is, and then you can disconnect the old fan and reconnect your new fan right here inside the room, okay? That's amazing. So they have the template, they got the fan cover. All right, now here's what we're interested in. Here's the body of this bad boy. All right, guys, I just wanted to show you the technology. Here's the nuts and bolts, all right? I pulled it out of the housing, it's 2 screws. I'm gonna put it back in, you can see, but what we have is, this is our electrical connection, all right? So the box is here, it's accessible from the outside through that screw. You punch this, you put in a grommet, you run your wire. So you wanna wire this after you're done your install. It's nice and simple. We have a fan control here. You have an option. On this one, you can go 80 CFM or 110. And there's a stronger model. If you want to take a look online, you can buy that one for bigger rooms, like a 4-piece bath. And you can go from 110 to 150, all right? Now, I don't know if they have the same zone rating. You have to tell me about that. All right, so let's just go through the humidity settings. We have a minimum of 30 degrees, which is super dry, all right? That's dry enough to make your teeth fall out. And then we've got 80 degrees, and that's, or 80% humidity. That's way too much. Remember, in a basement, at 60% humidity, you're right on the edge of having an issue, okay? So you want to take a look at more moisture control in your basement. Maybe take a look at an underlayment or something and stop too much moisture from coming through your slab. At 60% humidity in a basement, you're going to start getting things condensing, okay, on smooth surfaces, like ductwork or like windows, okay? That's at 60%. At 65, you're going to start getting mold growing, all right? Your frame, the wood in the wall actually has mold in it. It came from the ground where the tree was planted. You can't stop that. The only way to keep mold from growing is to keep your lumber below 65. So if you have 65% humidity in your house, mold is growing whether you see it or not. It's just inevitable. So every notch here is 10%. So we're at 80, 70, 60. Now I don't want to go below 60 on this fan. You start creating an environment where things are so dry, your drywall starts to crack, flooring starts to shrink, okay? It's important to have a little bit of humidity in your house. And you really only want this kicking on if there's too much, all right? So at 60%, that's perfect. And then the timer, your stink control, that's what this is, right? This is in minutes, and it's anywhere from 0 to 60. Like, that's one hell of a need for, if you set this for 60, go see a doctor, okay? I am gonna set this at 3 minutes, okay? And here's why. This is a small room, right? It's 9 by 6, it's 54 square feet, times, let's call it 8. 8 times 54 is less than 400. And if we're moving 110 cubic feet in a minute, then in 4 minutes, this entire area in here has been exchanged, which means, I don't care how nasty it was, at 4 minutes, it's all gone. And so that's what the motion sensor does. Someone comes in, they drop a turd, it's enough to kill somebody, they get up and they leave, and they don't bother putting the fan button on, that's fine. This is gonna be wired with constant power. So when you wire your switch, you go from your switch to this fan, probably your red, because you're gonna use a 3-wire, red, black, and white. The red is gonna be constant power to this fan, so it's always paying attention to what's going on. That's how the humidity sensor works, that's how the motion sensor works, and the power's always there. It'll also have the black, so if you push a switch, then you're overriding the sensors, okay? And I like to use a switch that has a 5, 15, 30-minute timer on it or something like that, right? And then you can hit the 5-minute every time you're done. Makes sense. All right, so now our fan is set up. We're good to go. This is the humidistat unit itself, and we just take the tape off after install when we put the grill on. Leave it taped in for now. It literally just slides in. Oh, one more thing I want to show you. This is a plastic housing. It's completely vapor sealed. So whatever air is being pulled in from this fan, it's impossible for this to enter into the atmosphere in the attic above you because it has these gaskets right here on the side that are sliding in ever so gently and sealing off this fan from having any issue. All right, so you don't need to have an additional vapor well in your attic. You don't need to have this tied into your vapor barrier if this is an attic installation. All you do is stick your fan in, take your plastic and tape it to this edge. Done. Vapor sealed, okay? We are good to go. This has 2 set screws that go in here. There, that one's mounted. That one's mounted. Good to go. All right, now, next feature. This fan automatically closes. So if it's connected to the ducting outside and it's windy, the wind will blow, it's a closed door. But when the wind blows from inside, then it opens up. But automatically hits a damper, it closes itself. It's great. A lot of fans are out there. You have to install this type of unit with the damper attached yourself during installation make sure you take the tape off. I've had multiple callbacks over the years on construction sites, working with all kinds of companies, and like, well, the bathroom fan doesn't work, it just stays foggy, nothing's working, and then I have to crawl into the attic and take off the ducting, and I'm solving someone else's problem because they didn't take the tape off the damper. Panasonic smart, they don't even ship it with tape because it became such a problem. Anyway, the point is this, make sure you don't install it upside down or it'll just sit open the whole time too. And then you open up yourself for rodents and animals and bugs to make it into the bathroom and nest in your fan, and that's nasty, okay? Other than that, we're good to go. Let's just make sure this will fit in the hole. I got lots of room here to play around with. That's great. All I'm gonna need to do is add a little bit of blocking on this side so that I've got somewhere to put a screw, okay? Okay. Alrighty. So my next step is actually to make my hole, finish outside, and then I can add my ducting inside and then install my fan into my ducting. All right, so I'm always coming from behind because I can slide this up and then I can move it over an inch or two and then fasten it in place, easy. But what I can't do is put rigid ducting in after my fan's installed, because how do I slide that on and then push it back again? It gets a little bit ridiculous, right? This is gonna be the way that we're gonna make it work. I got my receipt from shopping this morning, okay? I'm gonna run through a couple of numbers for you. This is the exhaust. It's a 6-inch, comes with an animal screen, okay? And this is great. And it doesn't have a damper on it. The damper is in the fan, all right? So what we do is we have this coming in through the hole from the outside, and you'll see that the locations for the screws are here and here and here and here. This is crucial because we're going to put a 6-inch hole in the rim joist. Now, how do we make a 6-inch hole? Not using a hole saw, okay? That is the dangerous part of this mess. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to make a square hole that's 6 inches by 6 inches. But then we risk compromising the integrity of the structure, so where our screws go, it's not going to work. So what I do, as a rule of thumb, is I install it like a diamond. It's big enough for the duct to get through, and then the screw location is going to be over here. And you've got lots of meat, even over time, if a little moisture gets in there for whatever reason. That's how I do it. Cut a diamond in the wall, all right? So all I got to do is get up on my step here, stick that on the wall in a diamond, put 4 holes, okay? Connect the dots with my Sawzall, boom, I've got a hole. That works great. Now I got rigid pipe. Now I got 2 options to connect. I can go with a 6-inch rigid pipe. This end has already been cut down so that the pipe sticks inside of it real easy, nice and easy. The other side we can cut to fit with a pair of snips. And what we would do is we would simply slide it over top of this section, okay? It slides right over. And then we can tape it on, or we can use a gear clamp. Here's a gear clamp. It starts big, you throw your drill on here, you can tighten it up in a hurry. Always seal it with tape as well. That's one option. The other option is this. If you're gonna go with the rigid, you need to insulate it though, okay? So this is air duct insulation. This is just a sleeve. So you're gonna measure, you're gonna cut this, you're gonna measure, you're gonna cut this, you're gonna slide it over together, stick them in. The other option is this right here. Now this is a flexible insulated duct line. Comes in a box, tells you how big the pipe is. This is $100, gives you 25 feet. Now, if you're only doing one fan, might I suggest you go with the rigid, because the rigid pipe is $18 and the sleeve is 27. So for less than $40, and these are Canadian dollars. If you're in the United States, you're 70 cents on the dollar. Give you an idea, okay? So this is a great option if you're only doing one bathroom. I am doing 2 bathrooms, but the one in the master bedroom upstairs, the fan location, I need it to go up and over and then out the gable. So I'm gonna save this 25 feet for that bathroom installation. Today I'm gonna do rigid. And then over the next year and a half, by the time I finish this project, you will have both options in our video recording. So now we're gonna go cut through the rim joist. Grab yourself one of these. This is a 3/4 inch, right? This is a speed bore. They sell them in packs of 3, okay? I love these things. They make quick work of making holes. Get an extension, boom. Set your drill on drilling. Okay, and then throw it all the way down to number 1. That is the lowest speed that it'll operate on. If it binds, it's not gonna break your wrist on you, okay? Because if this is spinning and it hits something and stops, the drill gets thrown, okay? Trust me on this, you don't want that happening. That hurts. There we go. And this is how I make this work. All I'm doing is marking the locations for my 4 holes. I'm gonna reach up with that great big drill bit. Now it's going to go outside with the reciprocator and connect all those dots. Now, obviously you can tell we're doing some work outside. We had to do the entire restructuring of this load-bearing wall. That was actually done live. So if you're curious, you can go check out the live on our homepage. And there's a whole series there of some of the work that we did on this project. As far as this is concerned, we're just going to connect our dots and make room for our hole. Make sure you use the right blade. It makes the work quick. If you use the wrong blade, you're going to get too much friction. You can start a fire. All right, there we go. We now have room for our exhaust. Thank you, sir. Okay, fins down. Check the hole. Oh, marvelous. Now, so here's my locations for my screws. All right, here, 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 and here. Lots of solid wood available. Never going to have an issue. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to install this just temporarily, okay, with the idea of my facade intact. So I'm going to stick it out a little bit further than I need to, knowing that that sleeve over the existing pipe has the flexibility to go 1 to 2 inches, all right? So I'm going to install it out here like this, and then that will set me up for success for the winter. We're going to spray foam the inside when we're all done, just so that we have a nice air seal, all right? Thermal break, that'll be perfect. There we go. Now I'm going to set this up temporarily because in the spring, the plan right now, as we see it, and it's nice to have the plan end from the beginning, but the plan for right now is to use a cement board siding on the outside. And so I need to have the flexibility. There we go. Worst case scenario, I've got to tear all this off. Things get a little bit stuck and I have to buy another one in the spring. But we're going to have this set up because we really don't want to have to be using a porta potty all winter long here in Canada. So the bathroom, getting that finished is our first priority, right? All right, so inspection is on Monday for all of the framing. That'll free us up to bring the electrician and the plumbers back and start putting all that work together. This will work for now. I'm going to put a little bit of the Roxol insulation in my holes here so that when I do spray foam, there's a backing and doesn't come firing all out here. Now let's go install the rest of the ducting and we'll show you how simple this is. Okay, that's good, bud. We're going to just spray foam a little bit under here. Now when you spray foam your rim joist, guys, you want an air barrier. Well, if you have a ductwork like this here, you're not going to be able to get too much insulation in and around the hard to reach places. Feel free to put extra layers and let that R value really build up. But for the rest of it, you just want to get an air seal, okay? And then you can add a little bit of bat insulation. It's what we call flash and bat. Always take the tip off when you're done spraying and then use the gun cleaner to clean out that nozzle. I'll let Matt take care of that for me. You got it up there, bud? Yeah. Oh, awesome. Good stuff. All right. Yeah, look at it grow. Damn. Oh, buddy. All right. Yeah, well, you know, some foam spray, it grows really quick on the application. And some foam, it takes a minute or two before it really grows out. This one apparently continues to grow well after the fact. Probably because the tank was cold, but the surface and the air was warm. So all I do is I take my knife and I'll just clean out that curve. And then I can shove my duct right inside there. All right, so now we come time for the installation of the fan. With the duct, here we got this great big growing blob of foam. We're gonna just trim that back to what's necessary. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna rough fit the housing, take my marker and mark my line where I want my ducting to finish, okay? And in this situation, I'm gonna be attaching it to the strapping and then to my blocking, and I'm gonna add a little bit of blocking over here. Furthest back that I wanna go is about here, okay? That's as long as I want my rigid duct to be. That'll leave room for my gear clamp to be hanging over top of it so I can get that nice seal. I need one more piece of blocking in here. I like to use blocking instead of the bars. They come with the adjustable bars. I understand the value of it, but at the end of the day, if I can use blocking to close up my hole so that I've got wood to screw to, I prefer that any day of the week. Screwing things into wood does a great job of eliminating vibration. And when you're trying to have a quiet fan, the last thing you need is metal brackets not being quite tight enough. You know, things start bouncing around a little bit. We're going to measure for rigid duct. This part we'll install inside the old, this will install inside the other piece of ducting that's already through the wall. It doesn't go 2 inches. If you're lucky, you're going to get 1.25 inches. Okay, so we're gonna guess we're only going to get 1.25 inches. And all right, because we don't need it to go all the way in. So I'm going to measure from the existing duct to my marker line, which is right here. Looks like 40 3/4. plus an inch and a quarter. 41, 42. I'm gonna write that down before I forget. Grab my snips. I'm gonna measure this pipe 42 inches and then cut it open. Now, that is really difficult to manage. So what I do is I take my measurement, make a mark, and then I measure back. So I'm gonna measure 18 because I'm right-handed. I'm gonna hold the tape like this. Now, until you put this ducting together, it's incredibly difficult to know how to cut straight. It won't make any sense. So every few inches, you want to put another mark on your line here. Okay? And that's if you're going to cut on the outside. Another way to do this is you can measure inside as well. And there's a lot of value to that because you'll see the metal will curl as you get going. And it's nice to be able to switch around from cutting outside to cutting inside once in a while. As long as you finish off within a quarter inch or so, you're going to be fine. You get that gear clamp on, everything is golden, and then you're going to seal with foil tape anyway. So not to worry, this is not about being that precise. Simple aviation snips. Boom. And then we're just aiming for the next black line. These snips automatically want to curve to the left a little bit, okay? That's why having all those lines are so good. All right? You can also cut this way. Here we go. Not bad. Oh. Not bad. All right, let's get a close-up of this. The duct is actually a tongue and groove system, okay? So we're gonna take the tongue and slide it in the groove. All right. There we go. Line it up in the groove and just put your thumb on it, pop it all together. Now, if you're on a flat surface, it's easier, okay? I'm just gonna keep pushing pressure on it. This hand I'm keeping it closed. This hand I'm just putting pressure on the tongue and groove. There we go. Just pops right together. No need to screw it or tape it or anything else. Once it's locked in, it's good to go. Now, time to take a knife. This foam does tend to get a little bit warm when it's curing. All right. Now, the golden rule when you're installing your fan cover is you want to have that tilted 1 degree so the pipe is actually coming down so that any condensation that happens in this environment is running out of the building. Okay, you don't want to be holding water inside the building. Now, it would be wise to be wearing gloves for this scenario, but I'm not the wisest guy in the bunch here. Oh, come on. Are you serious? Sawzall. We added the strapping so that we had something here to connect the framing to. But in this one particular situation, it's really in the way. Now, again, that side is actually made smaller. There we go. We're just gonna go up and we're gonna massage this because the joint right here, it's thicker. There's a ridge. So you gotta maneuver your pipe to get it in that hole a little bit, okay? Because the other pipe will have the same effect going on and it may not be perfectly round, especially after shoving it through that hole and after engaging the spray foam. Are you serious? This is an absolute nightmare to work in. Okay. All right, so there is a crimper tool. I do own it. It's in the garage. Matt's gonna go get it, but I'm gonna show you a cheat. This is crimped to make it small enough to fit. If you're having difficulty, you can take a hammer, okay? And you can actually just force a new crimp line. Okay, what that does is it makes the total diameter of the pipe smaller than what you're working with. Okay? Sometimes just a little bit of work like that makes this even possible. You don't always have to buy a new tool. By the time that spray foam is done with it, it's very much an oval. There we go. Now we're gonna just twist it back and forth, shove it in there. Okay, we want to get our gear clamp. Okay, should have plenty of room to play around with. Whew, it's time for the fan install now. Here we go. Now, there we go. There we are. Boom. Go in reverse first. You know, the easiest way to do this is actually own a clamp. You can clamp it in place. Okay. Oh, what did I do? I decided to use these construction screws, which I absolutely hate. All right. Oh, they've really lousy initial grab. But I didn't want to use the Phillips screws because if you're a fan of the channel, you know the one thing I hate worse than a cheap screw. That's a Phillips screw. Okay, now it is my intention when I drywall to drywall over this, take a rotozip, and then use the guide inside the perimeter of this thing and then snap in my cover. All right, I have no interest. The flange is designed to go outside the surface or in. That's what this gap is for. It's for your ceiling drywall. Just gonna go flush, call it a day. Now the only thing left to show you guys is how quiet this fan is and how to attach the gear driver. Let's make sure that the ducting is perfectly air sealed. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Get yourself a hexagon drive set. All right, this is from Milwaukee. It'll work great. You have it handy. And I have the extension. Can I have that long extension? I can't get in nice and tight because of the chuck. All right, here we go. This is longer than it needs to be, but it's handy. So, and sometimes when I'm doing an install, I'll forget a step because I'm so busy thinking of the next thing to show you, I forget. There we go. So, if anybody knows what I forgot, throw it in the comment section real quick. You guessed it. I forgot to insulate the duct, which is really key important here because without insulation on this duct line, you have a condensing surface that's connected to cold air outside. All right? Don't forget the damper's way back here. And if you don't insulate it, it's going to condense. You're going to get moisture dripping on your ceiling. That would destroy the insulation of this entire bathroom. Okay, and of course that came through loose as well. Let's start over. All right, now we're back. I'm going to show you. Matt found my crimpers. All right, here they are. I got 3 bars on one side, all right, and then 2 on the other. And then it works like this. It doesn't cut the metal, it just crimps it, all right? And so the way that it operates is like this. You throw it in, and this is a more efficient crimp than the one that comes from the factory. This really reduces the surface area of that pipe. The factory crimp is like just barely enough to get the job done. And in on-site real-world conditions, it's enough to make you mad trying to stick pipe together if you don't have a good crimper on you. This is a tool for anybody who's going to mess around with your mechanical. Every piece of this ductwork you ever run into, I just automatically crimp it before I even try in most cases. But if you saw a piece of ductwork has to go oval, then this is an absolute must. All right? Yeah, no, that's crimped. Before we go dumb enough to stick it in the ceiling, we need a little bit of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure off 42 on the black plastic and leave this extra as extra, okay? There we go. There's my spot. This is one of these situations where precision isn't necessary, but having it longer than you need it can be very beneficial. It works really simple, okay? It literally slides over top of your ducting. Just hold it on both sides. Make sure that the insulation isn't being caught. A little bit of a wiggle. And agreed, not as convenient as buying the pre-insulated flexible ducting. But like I said, this ducting is a nice solid tube and I'm not gonna get any turbulence, okay? So now, well that sucked. Here, check this out. That did not install right. Okay, the fold fell away from the pipe. So I'm gonna have actually a piece of pipe here that's not insulated at all. Maybe I can get you to give me a hand here with this mat. Okay, can you hold that pipe so it's straight horizontal? Okay, hold on, let me take a look. Make sure that we're, there we go. There we go, now we got a perfect pipe. Okay? Whew. Glad I caught that. That would have been a disaster. All right, so we're gonna bring that end out, nice and healthy like. We're gonna go back up here again. And there we go. Now it's in. I'm going to slide the insulation towards the hole and expose this end. Okay. So the gear clamp goes on before the insulation. And make sure you turn it the right way so that you're actually going to be able to look at it and get a drill bit on there and thing. Okay, here we go. Again, we're going to roll this up, stick it on the pipe, and there, insert it. Back to square one with our drill. Not that tricky. You can do this by yourself. I, of course, recommend having a mat around. It makes things a lot easier. And I recommend getting some structure to screw on 3 sides, not 2. The more solid the install, the less vibration, the longer this is going to last. Okay, now that's done. Now we're switching out to the 1/4" bit. The secret here is to hold the smooth part of band to the surface, all right, and then drive the gear clamp on. And don't be afraid to hit a few points of torque on that, all right? Make sure she's really on there good. Now there is no need to add tape to that scenario. If you don't have a gear clamp and you want to rely on the tape, you can get away with it, but you know, for the love of God, hit the plumbing department, go back to the ducting. They come in 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 inch, okay? So grab yourself a gear clamp. Having this installed properly is the key to success. Now all we're doing is just making sure that this is all insulated right up to the housing. Okay, that is a perfect install. The only thing that's left is the electrician. He's going to come along. He's going to pop the grommet. Okay, he's going to pull out a couple of wires. He's going to wire this, close it back up, and then we just connect the switch from the inside. Double check we didn't bump any of our settings during install. So yes, I'm still on 110. No, I want to be on 80. I don't need 110 CFM here. And my first priority is reduce the zones. 80 cubic feet a minute. I'm fine with that. My humidity is still at 60, and my timer is set to 5 minutes. Perfect, okay? So now every time someone walks in this room, when this bathroom is finished, the fan is going to turn on. They won't even hear it. Every time you have a shower, if you're not moving because you close the door, and it can't sense that you're moving, it senses humidity, it'll turn on. And you'll have that great extraction of air so your mirrors won't fog up. And if you're smart enough, you'll even use the switch on the door when you get in the room, hit it for 30 minutes, and then have your shower. Well, let's take a look at this thing when it's completely finished. So we finished the bathroom installation of this fan. Had the electrician come by and put some power to it. We're not quite done in here yet. I've got another coat of mud and I want to paint it up. But I wanted to show you this. Because we went with the 6-inch pipe, and it's a very short run outside. This is actually 110 CFM and 0.3 sones in the meter, okay? So it's actually running right now.